What is up everyone, Yami here, and this is the first part of What If Deku Had the Eternal Pheonix Quirk. I would just like to thank God and Aizen for helping me out with the production of this video. They really are big in the making of this channel, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to even start What Ifs because of the fact of the suggestions they gave me. Also Izukage and Zether, they really helped too. And basically making sure that this video gets out to you guys, because me just randomly producing it and hoping and praying that the video gets noticed isn't gonna cut it, obviously. And just again, their links will be in the description below, so check out their channels, they're really cool. And with that out of the way, let's go over the abilities of this quirk. The abilities of the Eternal Pheonix Quirk honestly should be a bit noticeable if you've watched One Piece or read it with the manga, whichever you choose. I prefer manga. But the ability is to generate blue flames and also heal wounds. But I'm gonna make it so it has a mode to go offensive or defensive. Offensive basically giving it the normal capabilities of flames, and defensive basically giving it the ability to heal and basically have a way greater amount of durability than if you weren't to have the flame switch to defensive. Just so you know. It also has a special ability to reattach limbs that have been broken off. It can also even reattach the limbs if they are even broken into pieces. It doesn't matter, it'll literally reform the limb to how it first was, and it'll reattach it to the person that lost that limb. So it's really good. But a drawback is that it cannot heal internal wounds or internal injuries. It can only heal external. That's not really like, you know, that big of a drawback, but like if a person were to be on death's door and have internal injuries, Deku couldn't do anything and it would really suck. But that's the one drawback I have to give this quirk. I can't have it be a god quirk, you know? He's already OP as is. And he's also gonna have observation haki and armament haki along the way, you know, due to him being Marco's reincarnation. But I'm not going to give him Conqueror's because it was never confirmed that Marco had Conqueror's haki. From at least what I know, it's that way. So you can argue with me in the comments if you like, but I'm not going to budge on this rule. Alright, this might be different for if I do a Yonko on Big Mom or Kaido or Whitebeard. So keep this in mind, guys. This is like the one time I need to have a restriction on what he may have. But with that out of the way, let's get started with the what if. Deku would have been sitting in the back of the class with his hand on his cheek as the rest of the students would be showing off their quirks, including Baku. As the teacher would be sitting in the front of the class adjusting his glasses as he had papers in his hands, asking what school the students would be attending, Bakugo would have had a bit of a wicked smile on his face, yelling out UA High. Every other kid would be cheering and praising Baku, saying that if any kid would make it into UA, it would be Baku. He could probably even become the top hero or even number one. But there'd be a student, our underdog and protagonist, Deku, who would have awkwardly raised his hand with a tense expression on his face, saying, UA High. The class would be silent and would slowly turn their heads in the direction of Deku as he said that, knowing that he had just awakened the beast that is Kanchan, as a vein would be visible on the side of his head as he began to start yelling at Deku. Are you kidding me? A twerp like you, a quirkless no one, thinks that he can attend UA High, a well-known school. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta set your limits a little bit lower because you're aiming too high. Even for myself, I'm just amazed of your incompetence, young Izuku. The students would be somewhat amazed that Kachan used such a complex words. As you would say, he used a bit of complex words. I gave Bakugo a bit of a complex vocabulary, knowing a bit of complex words, just to make him sound a bit smarter, because why not flavor it up a bit? But the teacher would know where this is going and would begin to start calming down the class. But, of course, he would have to agree with Baku, wondering how Deku, a scrawny and quirkless kid, could apply to a school with the most renowned heroes, as well as them being known to have the most powerful quirks. As he stood with his hand on his cheek, the teacher, as he looked at Deku and waited for his response, but Deku would have remained quiet though, being too embarrassed and scared by the eyes that were on him, as well as the teacher. But the teacher would have let out a sigh, as he said, "Then, that's what I expected. Man, what a pity." But he would stand up and announce that class was dismissed. The second Deku heard this, he would immediately run out before Bakugo could notice him. As he was out of the school, he'd make sure to keep running, looking behind him every once in a while to make sure that he wasn't followed by Bakugo and his lackeys. As the Daizuku would ran into a nearby alleyway and lie down on the ground, contemplating why he did not stand up to the people that bullied him, and especially that brat Kanchan. All these problems that he had been dealing with suddenly hitting him like a moving train. Suddenly his train of thought would be interrupted by a pipe that would suddenly burst from the ground. Deku would look at the ground as green sludge began to plop down. Izuku would have gotten up and backed away slowly near the exit of the alleyway, as he was terrified by the pipe bursting for no reason at all, letting out this disgusting sludge that he's never seen before. But before he could think about it any further, the sludge would begin to form into a monster as it wrapped around Deku in an instant, beginning to suffocate him. As the monster would have heard Deku, he could even read his thoughts for some apparent reason, but it didn't matter now. But the monster would say, "Don't worry, brat, soon this will all be over. You'll be getting that power you wanted soon enough. But of course there's a price to pay, and that would have to be your body." As the sludge would begin to laugh like a maniac, as Deku would close his eyes and accept his fate. But then, Midori would open his eyes and be in a dark room with the mysterious figure sitting down in the middle of what would seem to be a plain old wooden chair. His shirt being purple and unbuttoned, my bad, and a tattoo of a man with a white beard on it being noticeable. His head being somewhat shaped similar to that of a pineapple. Deku, noticing that someone that he had never met before was just watching him as he slept, would let out a screech, and that would sound girly as hell. Boy oh boy, man. Making a noise a boy shouldn't even be making, even in the situation that he was in. But the figure would let out a sigh as well, as he said, "You gotta be kidding me. You are my reincarnation? Jeez. Old man always said that I had rotten luck." Of course, if you guys don't know who this mystery man is and don't watch One Piece, it's Marco. So yeah, if anyone is wondering who he is, go look him up. Also, gonna be calling him that for the rest of the story, so just so you know. Now back to the what if. "Man, you sound like a little girl. By the way, so if you could keep your mouth shut and let me explain, I would appreciate that." Deku, hearing this and the authoritative tone that Marco was letting out, would keep his mouth shut as he waited for what the man had to say next. Marco would be playing with the little hairs that were on his chin as he said, "Now that's better. You can at least listen to simple orders. You are my reincarnation, and because you have inherited my power. You seem to not know how to use it, so being the nice person that I am, I'm just going to give you a bit of a boost by giving you all of my memories from when I was alive in my previous life to help you out. But I want you to agree to some things. 1, you will listen to whatever I have to say. 2. You will train and work hard every single day as I tell you. And 3. You will stand up for yourself and stop being a damn loser. Deal? Marco would extend his hand out towards Deku, looking at him dead in the eyes. But Izuku wouldn't even have a second thought about this, as he got up and shook Marco's hand violently. Marco would have a smile on his face. He said, "Pleasure doing business with you, brat." Now, Deku would go back to reality. The sludge monster would still be wrapped around Deku, but suddenly, blue flames would cover Deku's body as it began to burn the sludge monster, and it would instinctively let go of Deku and distance itself from him. As it said, "How the hell did you get this power?" But Deku would have remained silent and quiet as he let out his anger and bloodlust, running towards the monster, and it would punch as all the blue flames around his body would focus onto his fist as it would incinerate the sludge until it was nothing but ashes on the pavement. But as Deku did that and strained his posture a bit, the flames would still be active as he all of a sudden heard a loud and joyous laugh as Deku would then hide the hand that was covered in flames behind his back. As All Might would suddenly arrive as he landed on his feet, looking around as he then turned around to look at young Izuku. The number one here would say, "Well, young one, I heard there was a disturbance here. Mind telling me what happened?" Deku would have been holding himself back though the entire time from the beginning that All Might first arrived, and would immediately know who he is due to his particularly weird hair, but now I'll stop being sidetracked. But Deku, of course, being a fanboy, would hold himself back again, making sure that he wouldn't seem like a complete and utter idiot in front of his model and idol. But would respond saying, "Nothing happened, and it's an honor to meet you, All Might." As Midoriya still had his hand hidden behind his back as the flames would begin to vanish. All Might would nod as he waved goodbye to Deku and jumped away, traversing the city from building to building. But Izuku would be shocked more than anything, seeing that All Might seemed to be quite in a hurry all of a sudden, as if time was running out, hint hint. But other than that, Deku would let out a sigh of relief as he finally was able to let out what he was holding back, a fanboy screech. As he would have thought to himself that even though today was a bit bumpy at first, the payoff was worth it, as he got to meet his idol All Might and even got a quirk. But with all of this out, as he let it out of his system in that screech, he would begin to compose himself and calm down a bit, as he realized that he still has a mother and a home to get back to. As Deku would walk away from the alleyway, as he then arrived home, still covered in sludge, or would be covered in sludge due to the fact that he punched it, and the parts of the sludge that he punched due to the force would go on his body. But as Inko, Deku's mom, would look at him and see that he was a hot mess, would tell him, "Go clean yourself off immediately, mister." Deku would say, "Yes, ma'am," as he saluted her in a bit of a... I forgot the word of it. In a bit of a funny way. As a way of offending her, which he would regret probably sooner or later if she didn't catch on. But as Deku would walk upstairs, take his clothes off, take a shower, all that good stuff, making sure that he thoroughly cleaned himself, would then get out, put on a set of clothes, and would walk downstairs as he began to eat his food, with a smile on his face, still thinking about all of the events that had recently occurred. As his mother looked at him, saying, "You look mad happy for some reason." "Oh, Mom, I don't know why, today just seemed like a good day." "Well then, I hope it was, because I made you your favorite wheel, wings, as you say it, or you youngins say it." Thanks, Mom, I appreciate it." As Deku would eat every piece of meat off that wing until there was nothing but bones left on his plate, as he'd then get up, put in the sink, brush his teeth, wash his face, and go to bed. As Deku would rest his head on his pillow as it would be night, as he closed his eyes, Deku being back in that dark room on his 2 feet in a fighting stance, as Marco would have done the same. But Marco would have said, "Shall we begin?" Now that's going to be the end of part 1 of What If Deku Had the Eternal Pheonix Quirk. I know it may have been a bit short, and the cliffhanger may have been bad and may have sucked, but it was just a perfect point to leave it off. Don't worry, part 2 is coming out real soon, so stay tuned and peace out.